Hello, 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 everyone. How is everyone doing on this fine Tuesday? I want to welcome Michael from Hotlanta. We'll give him a proper introduction in a few minutes. But right now, I just want to tell you quickly, he is an investor who actually a past investor. He hasn't invested in a couple of years, and he wants to get back into investing and specifically wholesaling. So we'll talk more about wholesaling in a couple of minutes. So stick around to learn exactly how you start and scale a wholesaling business. Anyway, this is a live hot seat that we do each and every Tuesday where investors will come onto my show and they'll present their obstacles and I'll crush each and every one of them. Why do I do these? I do these to show ordinary people like myself that you really can change your life and your situation through real estate investing. It's possible. I've done it. Countless other people across the United States have done it. If we haven't met, I'm Brad Chandler, and I teach people how to find freedom through real estate using a tactic called wholesaling. And wholesaling doesn't require you to buy the houses, deal with the banks, renovate the properties, deal with contractors. In 2003, I started out doing this, and my net worth was a negative $80,000. I was one of the 78% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. It wasn't much fun. Since that time, I've been able to build Express Home Buyers in a company that this year we'll do close to 250 deals and will generate millions of dollars in wholesale fees without my day-to-day involvement. Folks, you can do the same. I promise you can. Just watch this live cast, watch previous live casts, and then if you stick around to the end, I'm going to give you this incredible free training on how, with just a couple $100 deposit, I got a house under contract in Chantilly, Virginia earlier this year and made $33,750 without ever buying it. So anyway, stick around and I'll get you that. Now, while I share this to my personal page, I want you to go right now and type in the comment section where you're from. Also, this isn't just about helping Michael. This is about helping you guys who are listening. So if you have any questions, type them in the comments below. And whether you're watching this live or months from now on a rebroadcast, I will come back and answer. And by the way, share this if you think anyone would find it helpful. And if you like what we say, click the like button. And if you love what I say, or Michael, click the heart button. So if you can go right now, tell us where you're from and send us some love by clicking away on the heart button. That would be awesome. Okay, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to the Real Estate Investing Hot Seat live stream podcast. Welcome, Michael from Hotlanta. How are you today, my man?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, Brad. Doing really well.
Awesome. So tell myself and the listeners what kind of got you to where you are and where you want to go from here.
Well, Brad, I've been in the real estate business for many years, from a sales perspective and an investment perspective. But I have to tell you, the last maybe 10 years or so, I've really only focused on the sales side of the business. I want to get back into the investment side. And I've heard a lot about wholesaling, but I got to be honest with you, Brad, I don't know anything about how to approach it.
Well, you're going to learn. You're going to know a lot by the end of this call.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
So, Michael, when you say sales side, I just want to let everyone know you mean the realty side of the business. You're listing houses and you're dealing with buyers who are interested in buying homes, correct?
That is correct. I sell real estate in the Atlanta market and in the New Orleans, Louisiana market.
Okay. Okay. So send Michael some love from New Orleans, if you would. So, Michael, why Atlanta and New Orleans?
Well, I'm originally from New Orleans.
Okay.
But I landed in Atlanta after Hurricane Katrina and decided to stay in the Atlanta area. But I still had a business that was thriving pretty well in the New Orleans market. So I kept it. With electronics like it is today, I can run both businesses without a lot of difficulty. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, here's the cool thing, Michael. Not only can you run two realty businesses, there's no reason why from Atlanta that you can't wholesale properties in New Orleans as well, or that you can't buy rentals. We're wholesaling properties all over the United States from Washington, D.C. area, specifically in Northern Virginia. So that's cool. Awesome, Michael. So tell us, so you want to get back into it. What are your goals? And then we'll deep dive into kind of some steps that you can take. What are your goals for the next, say, 12 months?
Well, over the next 12 months, with your help, I'm hoping to be able to begin wholesaling. And if I can start with my first endeavor, maybe next month, in the month of August. I'd like to complete at least 6 transactions between now and the end of this year.
Okay. I think that's completely doable. So what obstacles are you facing? You want to do six. We've got 6 months left when you count July. So that's a transaction a month, which should be easily doable. What's standing in your way making that happen?
Well, I have difficulty trying to understand how do you find the potential clients for wholesaling. That's part of it. The other part is if I'm going to do this business, I understand that you need cash buyers, or at least people that have the access to the resources to make that transaction happen rather quickly. So I need to figure out how to build a list of sellers and how to build a list of buyers.
Okay. So let's start breaking down each one of those. Your timing is kind of impeccable. I'm doing a brand new webinar that I've never done before this Thursday at 7 p.m. that you're going to have to sign up for. And it's 4 ways to massively scale your lead generation for your real estate investing business while getting a better return on investment. So we'll talk about some of it now, but we're going to have a whole hour or hour and a half on Thursday night. So we're going to go way more in depth. So make sure you go to bradchandler.com/lead gen. Again, that's bradchandler.com/lead gen. There's a live webinar we're going to be doing at 7 p.m. Eastern time this Thursday night. And you're going to learn so much about marketing. So, Michael, there are 110 different ways to find motivated sellers. So we're going to talk about that first. Can you give me an idea of what does your budget look like on a monthly basis? How much are you willing to spend to put into this endeavor to find motivated sellers?
I'm assuming, Brad, you're asking me about my marketing budget.
Yes, sir.
Well, on a monthly basis, I can afford to put, I'd say, up to $1,000 a month into marketing.
Okay. So that budget in a big market like Atlanta is definitely on the low side, but it's completely doable. When I bring on new students, I always tell them, hey, you got to start. Some people are like, can I start with $200? Sure. I started with $200 back, in 2003, and look what I've, grown it into. But the more money you have, the easier it is. So with $1,000, Michael, I'd really focus on direct mail and cold calling. Do you call right now in your real estate business when you try to get new leads? Are you doing any outbound calling to find potential listings?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I do mailings as well.
Okay. So boom, you're a pro at this. So what we need to do, and I don't know what your criteria is. What is your criteria, by the way, when you target? Are you just looking at a geographic area that homeowners in a certain price range?
Correct. I am marketing from a geographic perspective.
Okay. So that's going to change a lot with wholesaling, because what we're looking for people who have equity. Because when you wholesale a property, you get under contract for, say, $120,000, and then you find that cash buyer who's willing to pay $120,000, and they actually step in and buy it. The seller gets the $100,000 that you promised them, and you get that assignment fee or wholesale fee in the middle, which is $20,000. Let's say that the seller owned a house that was worth $100,000 that they had a $100,000 mortgage on, or $110,000 mortgage. Wholesaling just doesn't work in that arena. So what I like to tell my students, what I advise them, is go to somewhere like ListSource. And again, we're going to talk a lot more about this on Thursday night, but go to a company like ListSource, and you're going to pay about 15 to 18 cents. If you do it outside of my program, we actually have an incredible 3.5 cents per record. And go into ListSource, and you want to find homeowners who are in the areas of the metro area you don't want to be looking for the top end of the market. You're not going to be looking in Atlanta at the most expensive neighborhoods, because can you wholesale in those neighborhoods? Absolutely. Is it tougher? Absolutely. So what I like to do is focus on the mid to lower income areas. So I would look at areas, and being a realtor, Michael, you're going to know this like the back of your hand. Focus on the areas that are 20% less than the average sales price for the entire metro area, 20% and less, and focus on those neighborhoods. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull people who have equity. You can start out with 50% equity. You can go all the way to 100% equity. Based on your $1,000 a month, you kind of just have to back into how many postcards you can send. So with my program, you can You can get the actual postcard, the mailing, and the actual seller's information for just about 40 cents, which is incredibly low. What do you pay? Do you send postcards or letters?
Postcards.
Postcards. Do
And,
you know what you
and
pay for
they're
postcards?
costing anywhere from 40 to 50 cents a piece.
Okay. So what you have to do is you just have to back into that, right? So you just have to figure out, if I want to spend this much money, here's how many postcards I can send, and then just make sure, you've probably already learned this, but make sure that you budget enough that you send at least 6 mailings over 6 months, every 30 days. The message is going to be, are you looking to sell your house? I'm an investor. I buy houses fast for cash. You don't have to make any repairs. Talk to the people's pain point. Again, you're an expert at this. You don't want to just talk about how great you are. You want to talk about what you can do to solve their pain, because you know this. People don't call you because, if you're a landscaper, they don't call you because they need their grass cut. That's their external problem. Their internal problem is they're having dinner guests over, or they're afraid their neighbors are going to look at them, wrongly, or they're afraid the homeowner association is going to find them. So they're scared, they're nervous, they're embarrassed. That's why they call you, right? So it's the same thing in this business. Is people aren't really calling you just to sell their house. They're calling you because they have a problem to solve. A lot of the folks we deal with have inherited the house. They've lost a job. They have so many repairs on the house that they can't really sell it. Or they're just a landlord that thought it was going to be glamorous to get into the real estate business, and they just really didn't understand it. And so they're tired. So all of those people have different emotional triggers that that they need help with. Your job is to speak to them both on the marketing side and the sales side. So does that make sense thus far?
Absolutely, it does.
Okay. Secondly, what I like to do is I like to call those people. So you can run them through certain data finders, and you can actually find their phone numbers. They have equity, right? And this is a beautiful thing about your position, Michael, is that you're a realtor. So every dollar that you spend as an investor should go further than someone without a real estate license, because guess what? If they don't want to sell you their house, you might be able to say, okay, well, I can list your house, right? So that 100% of the people that you're calling, if you've pulled the list correctly, have equity. So you don't have to deal with the rigmarole of the short sales. You're going to try to get an appointment. Here's the really cool thing. As a realtor, what's the one thing you want most? I think the answer is you want to be able to sit across the table from them in their house. Is that right?
You want an appointment. That's the first thing you're trying to accomplish.
That is absolutely always the number one thing realtors want. So it's tough to get an appointment, to get a listing. It's way, way, way easier to get an appointment at someone's house if you're offering to buy the house, because you're going to say, hey, I'd love to make an offer on your house. Can I come out tomorrow to give you that offer? And you're going to see the resistance from the investor standpoint is so much lower than if you were saying, hey, I want to come list your house like the other 10 million realtors in Atlanta. So you get out there, you build the rapport. You're obviously, well-spoken. You've been in the business. I mean, you're going to kill it. You build some rapport. You find out their pain points. You talk a lot about how you can solve those pain points. And then you walk away with, hopefully, 70%, 80% of the time, either a listing or a purchase contract that you can then assign. All right. That makes sense?
That makes sense.
Now, your second question, and by the way, that's one of, like I said, 110 ways you can find motivated sellers. Do you have a website for your investing business?
I do not.
Okay. So if you're going to be in this business for the long haul, I'm sure you have a website for your realty business.
I have a shared website, yes.
Okay. So you can get a website. Investor Carrot provides the best websites on the planet. Not only do they provide a website for credibility purposes, but why they're the best on the planet is they teach you how to drive motivated seller leads. So if you go to bradchandler.com/carrot, the name of the company is Investor Carrot, for like 50 to $100, they've got different packages. You can get an amazing website out of the box. You don't need to be a programmer. Everything is set up. You got to make a couple tweaks, which you don't have to be a technology guy to do. So if you're going to be serious about the business, get yourself a website, because that can also generate you a lot of leads, again, that you can turn into a listing or a purchase contract. What do you use currently in your business, Michael, for following up on leads? Do you have a CRM or database?
Yes, I do. I've got a CRM.
I'm just curious. There's 100 out there. What is it? I'm just want to know if I
Chime.
know it.
I use one called Chime.
Chime. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one. So you can probably use it for your investment business. But like I teach all new students, the number one thing you want to do, the number one thing you have to do is you have to have a great follow-up system, right? Because if
Yeah.
you look across the United States at all industries, you look at the top salespeople, one of the main things that they do is follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. So you have to have an amazing, amazing system of following up. So before you go spend that $1,000 a month, make sure that when the leads come in, whether they're coming from phone calls or from a website, that they're going somewhere that you're going to be able to aggressively and accurately follow up with them. Make sense thus far?
Yes, it does.
Awesome. So your second obstacle to getting your 6 transactions. So now I've just given you a blueprint on how you can, like that, get leads coming in through direct mail and calling. Um, Now you've gone out to the house, you've either gotten a listing or you've gotten a purchase contract. Let's say that you got a purchase contract and now you need to sell it. Well, this is kind of the easiest part of the whole equation, Michael, because you probably know that if you have a deal, it's going to sell, right? You just need to find those cash buyers. There are 110 ways to find cash buyers too. I'm saying 110. I don't know if there's 70 or 200, but I'm just using. So you can post on Craigslist, you can post on Facebook, you can run Facebook ads, you can post on some of the bigger networking sites like Bigger Pockets and Connected Investor. All of those are great. The one that I like the best, Michael, is I like to call realtors who have sold a property to a cash buyer in the last 18 months. And here's another benefit of you being a realtor: you have access to those people. So you go to Atlanta, 123 Maple Street, you get under contract, and all you do is you do a 5 mile or 3 mile radius search around the property, and you search for agents who sold to cash buyers, and you call them and you say, hey, this is Michael. I'm an agent in Atlanta, and I just got a property under contract at 123 Maple Street, just around the corner from where your cash buyer bought. It's a smoking deal. It's off market. Do you think your buyer would be interested? Well, most investors, Michael, they don't want to purchase one house, right? They want to purchase multiple houses. So that's where we found is the absolute best way to get them. And why best? The best way is because those cash buyers are typically the buyers that are going to buy at the highest prices, meaning like 80% of the after repair value minus the renovations. Make sense?
That makes plenty sense. I like that idea.
Yep. We have found that to be the best. So we do the same thing we preach here. To do 250 deals in this market around the United States, we're doing the same thing. We get a property under contract. We did a property 5 months ago in Tampa, Florida. We never saw it. We made $38,000 wholesale fee. How many listings would you have to do in the average price range in Atlanta to make $38,000?
Well, in the area that I sell, you'd have to do maybe 3 listings to do
Well,
that.
you're a baller. I mean, you're in the high price range. Let's say
Yes.
that the average, we're talking probably 8 listings, 10 listings.
Well, down in the city where we're going to be doing wholesaling, yeah, you'd probably have to do 6 to 8 to make that kind of money.
Okay, and that's a lot. 6 to 8 transactions compared to one. It's a beautiful thing, right? So we did all of that from here in Northern Virginia. We made a $38,000 fee, and literally we just called realtors down there and we said, hey, we've got this smoking hot deal. Do you want it? And someone came along, and it was in a great townhouse community, and they swooped it up. So
Well, I really like that idea. That's certainly one that I'm going to put in the books for myself.
awesome. Any questions about anything that we've said thus far?
No, I'm doing pretty well with it so far.
Okay. So let me take a brief break to tell you guys something really cool I'm offering a select number of people. If you're struggling trying to grow your real estate investing business, or you're working so much you're missing time with family, you may be interested in this opportunity. At Brad Chandler Coaching, I teach people how to find freedom in their life by scaling their real estate investing business while actually working less hours. If you're interested in learning more, you can see all of what my program has to offer by going to bradchandler.com/learn. On this page, you'll find free training where I discuss how to grow a real estate wholesaling business. So, guys, if you want to learn how to grow your existing business, go ahead and watch my free training at bradchandler.com/learn. If you're looking for more freedom in your life, this could be the answer. Okay, back to Michael. Michael, I was reading the notes, your kind of the hot seat notes, and you had a question on contracts. You said you were a little bit concerned about having the right contract. Tell me more about that.
Well, being in the real estate business already, I know pretty well how contracts are structured when I'm working with clients. But that, again, is as working as a realtor. Working as an investor and having the right contract that I can use to assign to someone else. I have not seen that type of contract just yet.
Okay.
And I was really curious and interested, where can I attain that contract, or how can I write a contract to reflect that ability?
Sure. So it's something that we provide in our coaching program, but for someone like yourself, you can actually use a standard contract. So you've got contracts that you use right now. Those will work just fine. The only thing is you just want to make sure that they don't have a clause that prohibits you from assigning the contract. That's the only difference that you have to have. If as an investor, of course, we write the contracts to be a little more friendly for us. But it doesn't mean that you can't strike out anything that you feel you really don't need. When I did my first deal, Michael, or it was my second deal maybe. My first deal was a Veterans Administration foreclosure. My second deal was it was a house in Manassas Park, Virginia, and the lady was unfortunately taking her husband's paycheck and not paying the mortgage. And when they called me, they were 5 days away from foreclosure. I'd actually offered them months before, but as a new investor, I offered way too high. And thankfully, at that time, they said no. And they came back to me, and I ended up getting the house, and I actually bought it because, frankly, back then, I thought that it was wholesaling was for the less sophisticated person. And I thought the real smart people did rehabs, and man, was I all wrong about that. But anyway, I ended up buying the house, and I thought I was going to rehab it. I thought that's what, smart, successful people did. Well, rehabbing is by far the hardest part of this business. So if you don't have to rehab a house, don't do it. Anyway, I got the property under contract with a sheet of paper that was, I know if you're looking, but it's just literally had that many words on the page. It was so simple. Basically said, I'm buying your house for this amount of money, clear title, blah, blah, blah. When I sold the property, I had the exact same contract, except it said, what did it say at the top? Standard purchase contract. So when this experienced investor came, we were sitting out on a pile of garbage in the front yard because unfortunately she was the only one to show up to the open house. This was 2003, like June of 2003. I brought out the same contract. I made $43,000 on that house. And this is a funny thing. One of the clauses said buyer to pay all closing costs. Well, she looked at it and she goes, well, why would I pay all the closing costs? And I said what my mentor had taught me at the time. It wasn't really a mentor. He actually, I went to a seminar, one of my only seminars back in the day. And it says right across the top, standard purchase contract. So I just looked at it and I go, it's a standard purchase contract. She said, okay. So maybe I saved $500 there. But the point of this whole story is the contract is you can use your contract, or you can go to your title company and say, hey, just give me the simplest contract you have to buy real estate. Then you just need an assignment agreement. So because you're in the business, you probably know a bunch of title companies, right?
Yes, I do.
Have you asked any of them if they're investor friendly, that they deal with investors?
Yes, I have. And I've got a few that do.
Okay. So if you weren't in there, I'd say, if you said, well, how do I go find those? I'd say, just go to your RIAs, go online to Bigger Pockets and post, hey, where do I find an investor friendly title company? And you're going to get some really good reviews. But go to them, make sure, because you necessarily don't want to go to the title company the day you get a property under contract. You want to have a couple already set up. So go to them and say, hey, I've been in the business for a long time. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start wholesaling houses. Do you guys handle those? Yes, we handle those. Okay. Since I'm going to be doing a lot of business with you, will you give me a simple 1 or 2 page contract? And will you provide me an assignment agreement? And The assignment agreement literally can be a couple paragraphs. When we started out, it was a couple paragraphs until our attorneys got their hands on it. Now it's like 2.5 pages, but it doesn't have to be. It can be very simple that basically just says, I, Michael, and I'm assigning my rights to Sally Smith to buy the property located at 123 Maple Street, Atlanta, Georgia. All of the terms of the original contract exist. And I'm going to buy it for, like I said, my earlier example, I'm going to sell it to Sally for $120,000. And that's it. And then you show up to closing. You obviously give the title company the file when you first get under contract. They're going to do all the title work. And then the buyer's going to pay all the transaction costs, and you're going to get that, $20,000, $5,000. We've had spreads from $5,000 to $100,000. So in Atlanta, you could expect the same thing. You could have 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 38,000, 100,000, whatever it is. So what I would recommend in terms of making an offer is just the standard the standard investor. You got me thinking about a realtor. The standard offer that most investors make, and that's 65 to 70% of the after repair value minus the cost it's going to take you in renovations to get it to the after repair value. And you make them that offer. Can you go higher than that? Sure, you can go higher than that in the nicer areas or the areas with the higher price homes. And then what we like to do is we like to turn around and sell them for somewhere between 80 and 83 cents of percent of ARV less repairs. So you make a nice 10% spread on a $300,000 house. What does that mean?
No, that's
$30,000, right?
That is correct.
Beautiful thing, right? And the awesome thing about wholesaling, you flipped a house. I saw in your notes you said you flipped a house. You flipped houses in the past.
Yes, I have.
When's the last one you did it?
The last one I did was I take it back maybe 8 years ago.
Okay. Did you actually buy it, take it down, renovate it, resell it?
Yes.
Okay. So how'd it go?
Well, actually, I did it about 100 miles away from where I live. So I put the project on track to operate without myself being there, but I had to drive there practically every weekend just to check on the progress. And then after I got it all completed, I rented it out for a little while.
Oh, you held it. Okay.
I held it just for a little while. And then I sold it after, which was really good timing because I sold it like right at the peak and just before things went down.
Nice.
So It worked out pretty well.
Nice. Did you have any issues with the construction part of it?
Yes.
I figured
yes, I did. It was as always. I mean, it's always more work than you anticipate. There's always things that go wrong that you do not expect to go wrong. The scope of work always ends up being more than what you thought it would be.
And typically takes longer.
Yes, it does.
And fortunately, it doesn't sound like you got, bit by this, but what can happen is the buyer can come back and sue you 2 months later, 2 years later, and say, Michael, there's mold here. I didn't know about the mold. And, now my child's sick. With wholesaling, you don't have that because you never owned the house. It'd be almost impossible for someone to come back and sue you on a house that you never owned. So there's countless advantages to wholesaling over rehabbing. I mean, just so many advantages. So anyway, we're going to talk offline because I have a student in New Orleans, a dear friend of mine, who's trying to get into wholesaling down there as well. So I'm going to, and I personally love New Orleans. So I might want to, we'll talk offline about doing some stuff together.
Okay.
And of course, if anyone's listening to this and they're, want an investor-friendly realtor to help them find properties or just buy and sell houses in Atlanta or New Orleans, reach out to Michael. Michael, how can they best reach you?
Well, the best way to reach me is giving me a call, sending me a text, 770-375-6505. And if you're in New Orleans, you can reach me at 504-913-7600.
Awesome.
I accept all phone calls in Texas.
Awesome. So, Michael, what do you think? What do you think about our conversation? What sounds good, or what was the thing that you liked the most?
Well, the most exciting thing about it all is me not owning the property at all, and being able to move it from one person's hands to another, and making a nice spread on it. I'm excited about that, and I look forward to trying my first transaction with it. It's something that I've really never considered until now, but it is a good way to invest without getting so deeply involved as you have to do when you're flipping houses. When you're flipping
Absolutely.
houses, you get really deep. And
Absolutely. And one of the things I was thinking about is you actually train realtors. Well, guess what? You mentor realtors. There's no reason that once you learn this business, you can't that you can't teach them the same exact thing, or send them my way and I'll teach them, and then you guys can partner on deals and stuff. So I'm really excited for you because as a realtor, there's a lot of stuff, and you're in two good markets for doing this. So for you, Michael, the sky's the limit.
well, you're right. We didn't talk much about it, but here in the Atlanta area, I am constantly mentoring anywhere from 5 to 10 real estate agents at one time. And we do pretty well with that. I'm able to put them on track and into the business pretty well and help to make them successful.
Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about the importance of a mentor? Because obviously, I'm in the business of mentoring people at Brad Chandler Coaching, and I have a mentor myself. I work with Cameron Harold, who actually grew 1-800 Got Junk from a small operation to big, and he's an awesome dude. So tell the listeners a little bit about, if they're starting out as a realtor or an investor, why is it so important to have a mentor?
Well, mentors, I guess some people may look at them as a teacher. You can look at it that way, but really you're a teacher and a coach. Through the buying and selling process for an agent, I mean, there's so many um, challenges. I mean, you have to learn the process. You have to learn how to deal with people. If you come into the business from some other industry, you really don't have a clue. It's not an easy business to get into and be successful. It takes a lot more work than really the average person thinks or believes. And many people get into the business because maybe they bought a home themselves and they worked with another realtor, and they thought it was just so easy to do. These guys sold me this house, they made all of this money, and they didn't do anything. Well, when they do get into the business, they realize how much work is really involved. Just putting on a sign on the house and somebody coming along and buying it, it really doesn't work that way. You have to market that property. If you're the listing agent, you got to find the right buyers. And once you do get a buyer, the work really begins once that contract is signed. You got
Right,
to really hold a person's hand and to walk through that buying process. But
right,
as a mentor, you will have lots of questions, probably for your first 3 to 5 transactions. Every one of them are different. There's no two transactions like are exactly alike. So there's documents you have to work with. There's other people you have to deal with, from not only the buyers, but the loan officer, the inspectors, the appraiser, the attorney. There are a lot of pieces, moving pieces to this puzzle. And a mentor will help you keep all those pieces together and get you to the end of a successful transaction. And that's
awesome.
what I do with the guys and ladies that I mentor here.
Awesome. So if you're a realtor looking for a mentor in Atlanta or New Orleans, reach out to Michael. Send Michael some hearts for that. I love that explanation of why mentors are important. When I look back at my kind of beginning, it took me 8 long, hard months to find my first deal. Had I had a mentor back then like myself, oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I could have quit my job months earlier, and I would have had a lot more money to scale the business faster, because I really didn't know what I was doing, and I made a ton of mistakes. So, Michael, make sure that as soon as we hang up, you go to bradchandler.com/lead gen and register for the webinar, because you are going to learn some awesome stuff. I'm actually going to give you the opportunity on that call to figure out how you get the postcards for 3.5 cents a record. We're gonna give the postcard template away. So a lot of good things. Sign up there. Any other questions, Michael, before we wrap up?
How long do you think it'll be before I can get started?
I don't know why, after going to the webinar on Thursday at 7 p.m., that you can't literally start Thursday night or Friday morning. Just make sure that you feel real confident with your follow-up system. So, if you've got to cordon off a part of your follow-up system just for the investment part of the business, do that. But literally, you can start. You can start on Friday. You can
Well,
start making phone calls. You could literally start making phone calls Friday morning at 9 a.m.
Well, I'm looking forward to Friday morning right now.
Yeah, because part of what I'll provide in the training is the opportunity to get access to the actual script that we use, a cold calling script. So,
Fantastic.
so everyone, thank you so much for sticking around to the end. Remember, I mentioned at the beginning I'd give you a free gift if you stuck around, and that's how I made $33,750 on a townhome. Give me some hearts for that. Can you hit that heart button right now? $33,750 on a townhome that I never bought or renovated with, I think, a $200 deposit. So if you want that, go to bradchandler.com/results. You'll be blown away with how detailed I am on the whole process. I mean, it is killer, from how we found the deal to how we negotiated, actually recorded phone calls with the seller, recorded on-site appointments, how we estimated the renovations, how we came up with the after repair value. It will blow your mind. So anyway, remember guys, it's possible for you to leave your job or get the freedom you deserve in your life through scaling your real estate operation without needing a ton of money to buy or renovate those homes. Again, this is what wholesaling is. So myself, my students, countless wholesalers around the US, and Michael is about to be living proof that you can really do this. So, Michael, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. Could everyone say thanks to Michael by clicking the heart button and sharing this episode? This concludes our episode for the day.
Brad, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.